hasn't told. Oh, now it tells me we're live.
Go.
There we are.
All right, let's see. There we go. Okay, so now let me repost this. Oh, I should have. Watch.
All right.
Let's record the Business Brain podcast with Dave Hamilton and
This
Shannon
week's
Jean.
Biz Brain show episodes.
And we're going to talk about, there we go. Oh, growth madness.
Great. There we go.
Awesome. And
Yeah, I see people starting to flow in here.
okay, that's great. All right. Cool.
Yep.
Headshot. Oh, man. Somebody. Okay. Hey. All right. I'm ready to start anytime.
You ready to start?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's go.
Let's go. We got everything where we need to. And we're about to do 535, which is what I put on the screen. So let's do it. Business Brain, episode 535 for Wednesday, March 27th, World Theater Day. A business that deserves to be in business like any other. 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show where we take a few ideas, we dissect them, we analyze them, we discuss them so that we can each use them to tune our business brains every single time we get together. Sponsors for this episode include Shopify.com/businessbrain, where you can go to sign up for your $1 per month trial period. We'll talk more in depth about that in a little bit. For now, here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And I'm still out here in kind of sunny California, back from the snow. We were up in Tahoe this weekend. It was amazing. Tons of snow, like 2 or 3 feet over the weekend.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
We got deal.
Actually, where I am in New Hampshire, we only got, let's say 4 or 5 inches, maybe on Saturday. But we're kind of down near the coast here. The inner portions and northern portions of the state got, like 20 inches, 25 inches kind of thing. So
it was fun. We had a great time. It's always good when you're inside, sitting by the fire.
Yeah.
Relaxing with good friends. That's the time to be stuck in the snow, not like when you're driving over the mountain.
No, it was perfect. I was supposed to have a band rehearsal on Saturday morning, and 2 of the people that would have come were coming from maybe about an hour away. And so they didn't, it was snowing actively on Saturday morning. They're like, let's push off. And so we did. But it gave me the day to sit by the fire, and we played some board games with the family and just hung. And it was super chill and super laid back.
So, I love it too. While I was there, I heard this fact, this little tidbit about the Hoover Dam. Okay. And I was thinking along the lines, I'm a big fan. We talk about it a lot on the show, persistence and bullheaded persistence. And
yes,
I was just arguing with somebody today about their kind of this early bird gets the worm thing. And I was like, nope, that's not the way it works. But this tidbit of information that I heard was that a friend of ours had recently gone to the Hoover Dam.
Okay.
And at the bottom of the Hoover Dam, it's massively, I guess, wide with concrete, cement.
Yes.
Maybe there's difference, but let's just say concrete. I think it's like 600 feet wide. It's some crazy number like that.
Sure. Yeah.
And the concrete is still not done curing.
Yes. I remember that we were able to do a tour when we were there in like the late 90s. You can't do it. The tour we did, you can't do anymore. Because I think after 9/11, all that changed.
Yeah, they were down there pretty deep, I guess. And they said, the concrete that's down here, it will be 100 years for it to cure. And it was built like in the 30s or something.
Yeah.
So it's got another 10-year, whatever, supposedly years to cure. And I thought, man, that what a great analogy to talk about being persistent and how to create success, because here's, Hoover Dam, after all these years and, the gazillions of gallons of water it holds back or whatever energy it produces.
Yeah.
And it's still not done.
It's still not done.
Yeah. I as we were talking about today and thinking about, how we've made it, how we've done this show for 10 years. When I tell people we've done this show for 10 years, they're like, well, what? And so it's
Yeah.
just being persistent, paying off, showing up every time, and just, getting it done.
Yeah, it's true. And maybe if your friends were down that far, maybe that they when we did it, they called it the whole damn tour.
I think they were, because he was
And so
talking
maybe
about how
that's
you
opened
went,
up again.
yeah,
Yeah.
you went to some pretty narrow tunnels.
Yes.
That, they're way down at the bottom. They were talking about how they didn't use rebar at all. They used these refrigeration things. I don't know if you remember
Exactly.
that. But
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting too. Because they didn't think they needed it. It would cure faster without the rebar. So
Makes sense.
could you imagine? Would that be 200 years or
I don't know.
150
Yeah.
years? But all great things take time. And if so many people quit right when it's starting to go like this, and it's just, especially in business that we talk about on the show, it's just grinding it. I mean, we did this show for 2 years before anything really, I think, interesting happened, and sponsors started coming regularly. And I mean, it was interesting for us. I loved the first 2 years too.
Yeah, but we were finding our way. I mean, in a sense, we are still finding our way.
We are.
In that we're always open to morphing it based on what we're interested in, what you're interested in, like all of those things. So, yeah.
So if you're interested in
businessbrain.show.
I was just going to say that. Tell us what you want to hear.
All right, folks, quick challenge for you. In 10 seconds, how many things can you name that never stop growing? Got your list? All right, well, here's one for the books. Businesses thriving on our sponsor, Shopify. Let me spill the beans on a little secret. I launched a merchandise store for another venture of mine on Shopify, and guess what? We went from 0 to our first ka-ching in less than a day. Because that's the sound you hear when you make a sale on Shopify. It was like watching a plant grow in fast forward. Shopify isn't just a platform, it's your business's growth spurt in a box. From launching your online empire to opening your first brick and mortar and all the way up to your millionth order and beyond, Shopify is your ride or die. And for those of you who think selling's just about having a catchy jingle, think again. With Shopify Collective, you're not just selling, you're storytelling with a catalog of products from brands you adore. Increase your cart value with Shopify bundles. And believe me, bundling is as satisfying as popping bubble wrap. So good. Enter Shopify Magic, your AI-powered Merlin, for everything from captivating content to picking the perfect email timing. And the best part, it's free for every Shopify seller. Imagine having a genie that helps you generate instant FAQ answers or whips up product descriptions that make your items irresistible. With Shopify, you're not just opening a store, you're launching a rocket ship. So if you're ready to grow your business from a seedling to a towering tree, sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/businessbrain, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/businessbrain now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/businessbrain. And our thanks to Shopify for sponsoring this episode. So speaking of evolving the show based on our personal interests, you've been really focused on the X platform lately. I want to kind of shine a light on this a little bit.
Yeah, I have, and I've been talking about it a lot, but I want to broaden the conversation a little bit.
Okay.
And talk about how it's been helping me in other areas as well.
Got it.
So I'm trying to make this transition from product sales, which I've done my whole life and talked about it here on the show ad nauseum, to selling my knowledge and being able to somehow monetize what I know, be an advisor, coach, that kind of thing. But that's far down the road. That's future casting way down the road to see how that happens.
Yep.
And and I started to play around with X. You've been on it for a while. When it was Twitter, we still call it Twitter. I don't know how many years it's going to go away, but and for a while I was just kind of plugging away. I think I started with like 30 followers, and I didn't really know what I was doing, just like everything else.
Yeah, right.
But I love that 0 to 1 aspect of figuring out something else, and I got going with it, and I stumbled into a group of guys that were helping each other grow, and then they
kind of like a mastermind group.
Yeah, informally, and I got their attention.
Well, I mean, a lot of mastermind groups are informal.
Yeah,
like
that's right. It was informal, and nobody was paying any attention to me on X, and I couldn't figure out why.
Sure.
Now I know. It's just the way things work. You're a certain level. But I started doing the T-shirt quote. I always say that should be a T-shirt. We talk about it. So I created some graphics and started posting these T-shirt images into these posts of these bigger accounts. Like, that's a great quote you did, or a great line you said, and I would take a picture, or I'd make a picture and post it. I got some attention.
Right.
Met with these, talked with these other groups or guys, and they posted, hey, this has helped us. We've been helping each other in the background. We're going to let 5 people come in and do the same with you and start this group and see if it could help you. Okay.
Oh.
Sign up here. I was like, oh yeah, man, I totally want to sign up. Well, it turns out about 175 people also wanted it. And so everybody signed up. So they formalized this group. They called it Growth Madness. I think that's going to change, and built this concept kind of around the March Madness brackets kind of thing, which I don't know anything about, but it's just kind of elimination.
Sure. It's something to, yeah.
And they built a Slack, created a Slack workspace. They had folks come in on a weekly basis and do Zoom calls we could get tips on growing on X and everything. But along the way, something really powerful started happening. We got broken up into pods of 10 people in each pod to compete on a group level and on an individual level. And it was all focused on growing followers, because that's that's who we want. We want to have some kind of network influence, whatever.
Sure.
And my niche is small business and talking just like we are here. I basically post stuff that I've talked about here and that I'm going to talk about. And what I found was really fascinating is that it reminded me how I really kind of isolated myself after selling Tech Restore. I started that handbag experiment, and that did great. Did almost $4 million in business. It was great. All good, but all by myself.
Right.
And I've kind of been, even though I consider myself an outsider, I've been members of groups and, gone to trade shows. We've done them here, conferences, and all stuff. And that was really missing. And I feel, it's a little hyperbole, but I kind of feel like X saved me, because I immediately connected with, not immediately, let me back that up. It's taken months.
Right.
But I got involved with a group of other account holders, and I talk with them every day. I share ideas with them. We talk business. We do business therapy, just like we do here.
Yeah.
And we focus on growth. We're helping to grow our account, do all these kinds of things. But it's much more than that. And it reminded me the importance of peer groups and advisory groups or whoever. And, we've had people on the show that have talked about joining the CEO. We had the founder of, is it Roundtable of CEO? CEO Roundtable?
CEO Roundtable, yeah.
Whitkay. Yeah, I forget his first name. But that show where he talked about people joining his group. And then we had members of that group come on the show that talked about the benefit of it. So I just wanted to mention it again, how, and if you're interested in this Growth Madness thing on X, you can just message me and I'll tell you how they're going to do another cohort, as another name for it, I guess.
Cohort's a group. Yep.
Cohort's a group. Yeah, that's right. Fancy name. And so you can sign up for the next round. I'm somehow still in it. There's 9 of us left after that, and I'm still in it. And so I'm grinding away every day and learning.
All right. So
tell me what you think of this.
Yeah, no. I like, when you told me you were joining this, I thought, well, this is interesting. Like, he'll pay more attention on X and learn the platform, which is fine. The idea of focusing on growing followers is something I've seen folks do on X. I've never focused on it, right?
But you have a lot. You've got over 7,000, right?
Yeah, I've got like 7,000 followers. But it was very, but it was never
organic, right?
It was organic, right?
Yes.
And all just sort of I call it like the ripple effect. Like it's
Yes.
just I don't want to say accidental.
But you have a very big network. Your
But
flywheel is
yes.
much bigger.
And
from
I
a
also
digital perspective.
started on Twitter, like
Yeah.
not quite at day one, but pretty early on.
Yes.
And the first people that were on Twitter were a tech audience, right? So it all made sense. And that's when when people started complaining about Twitter getting full of politics and all that other crap.
You said this to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember. This is you just like, well, mine isn't.
I'm like, mine isn't.
And now
it
I know.
never has been.
Neither
right?
is mine. Mine's all business related. It
it's
depends on
what
what you look at.
It's what you want it to be and what
Yeah.
you engage with and all of that stuff.
Thank you for telling me that.
Yeah, of
over and
course.
over.
Yeah. And so, but like I've watched people pay to grow their followers, right? Like,
Oh, yeah,
you know,
that's the wrong
and all of
idea,
that.
right?
And it's like, well, I don't know that the number matters as much as some people think it does, because you certainly don't earn money based on the number. Unless you're in some kind of competition where there may be a prize at the end or something. But so I'm curious to you, and I think you've answered this question in what you were explaining, but I'm going to ask it again.
Yeah.
To you, what is of the you've been part of this mastermind group for the last 2 months or something?
Couple months. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the currently most valuable effect of having been part of this group?
The collaboration with other people.
That's okay.
No,
That
no
makes
doubt
sense
about
to
it.
me.
Even people in my group, but even people. Here's the deal with X, or Twitter. If you have less than 1,000 followers, you're kind of, if you want exposure and you're trying to grow a network, posting is not the best use of your time. It just doesn't work that way.
Interesting.
And I could go more to. You're really better to spend your time commenting on other posts.
Sure. Engaging with other people. That makes perfect
gaining
sense.
credibility. But what happens is while you're doing
then what's this is the part where I totally agree with you, but also what you say makes logical sense. Like if you just post and there's no one following you, no one's going to see it,
yes,
right?
Yes.
When you start commenting that's a good way to get seen. And then some of those people will then choose to follow you.
You're building credibility.
You're building your credibility and all that stuff. But what is the value of that? Like that's the part that it often people get hung up on. Oh, but I gain more followers. It's like, cool.
Yeah.
But
you're looking for quality. Yeah, you're looking for quality followers.
Yep.
But let me tell you how it kind of works. You're getting, and I'm new at this, but I'm learning.
I'm curious to your perspective here. Yeah.
And there's been a couple of like mind-blowing parts. And
sure.
One of them was when one of my people I'm involved in, like the guy who's coaching our pod, made the comment like, "Oh, well, you guys are getting DMs and then jumping on calls, right?" And I said, "What?" And that's how it works. And I do it every day. I had 2 this morning. So the way it works, you're building this network up. You're building your credibility. You're then starting to share things. A good example is I had about 6,000 posts to get me to 1,000 followers. Okay.
Okay.
And this is just a random, but on post 6,000, so I made it to 1,000.
Yeah.
And on my 6,001
and first,
thank you.
You got it.
My 6,001st post, I gained 1,200 followers.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because I got so much more exposure.
Yes.
And
yes.
So then what happens is you start getting DMs and people want to talk to you and ask you about a certain thing you may have posted about. And then they'll say, can we schedule a call? I would like a discovery call for a half hour.
Yep.
And those people you're talking to. And I had a call with the guy that's running a global talent business earlier this morning that wanted some tips. And I had what was my other call? Then I had a call from a person who's in the ETA space, entrepreneurship through acquisition.
Oh, yep.
Which is a big on X, on Twitter.
Yep.
And so you're meeting these people and building this network. And that's how, like we had Bodie on from I Rent Dumpsters and the Striker Digital, who's an SEO guy.
Yep.
So he's my guy. If anybody asks me now about SEO, I'm like, oh, you should talk to Bodie.
Yeah.
And that's value. So I'm building up my tank of adding value.
No, this is interesting,
right?
Because
does that make sense?
I've always early on in my, as I got involved in business, I noticed that there were some people that were excellent networkers. And I don't just mean to their own benefit. In fact,
Yes.
what made them excellent was they seemed to know everybody, and they would introduce people with no expectation
Connectors. Yep.
Connectors, right. But I also noticed that these people who were expert connectors had these fabulous careers.
Yes.
Right? Because it's the value of reciprocity, right? They would throw this out there, and it dawned on me. It was like, oh, I see. In fact, the guy who convinced me to start podcasting, this guy, Mike Dunn, who at the time was working for Hearst at the time.
Okay.
In their M&A department. But it was like, oh, interesting. Here's this guy working in the M&A department, fairly, powerful there, it seemed anyway. And really what he spends his downtime, if we call it that, doing is just connecting people randomly. Like, and it's like, he's just basically throwing, like, it's valuable to the other people.
Yes.
But the value to him is nebulous.
It's
hard. The moment.
This is a long game.
But it's the long game.
Yes.
That's it. It's the long game.
And it's kind of like a digital Rotary Club, Chamber of Commerce, whatever you want to talk about it. It's, hey, how can I help? If you go to my profile page at Shannon Jean, you'll see it just says, how can I help?
Yeah.
Because I know how to help because I've done this for a long time.
Right.
I've done this show for a decade. So I kind of have a sense of what you might need help with, Oh, and what I found is very interesting is on these calls, which I probably do 5 or more a week.
Wow.
Yeah. And is that a lot of the people, the main way I'm kind of helping them is mindset.
Yeah.
And
I can see that. Sure.
Right? And perception and talking through things, but I'm getting a ton out of it because everybody likes to feel like they have something to offer.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and the group of people that I'm involved in are all in different industries. I have a financial planner that owns laundromats. Another guy who's a website builder that does this I'll roast your website thing and help people make their websites better. Another guy who's a cabinet builder. Another guy in India who's an ops guy.
No, you're okay. So you're using X. You grew your followers to a point where you could start to actually attract valuable people.
Correct.
And now you're using that network to play the long game. Right. So I'm curious to come back to you on this in like a year.
Yeah, it'll be great.
And see what, because there will be something that like you're not being manipulative here,
No,
but there will be something that happens at some point, and it might be tomorrow, but more than likely it'll be within the next 18 months.
Probably.
Right.
Yeah.
Where there's substantial or substantive value to you, and you'll be able to point and say, this wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have joined this business partnership. I wouldn't have whatever it is that leads to it being valuable to you in a like financially valuable, I'll say.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Whatever it is, you'll be able to trace the path and say, I met this entrepreneur because he was introduced to me by a woman that I connected with on X 6 months ago, and now I'm in this new business, et cetera, et cetera. So
yes, I believe that's
your plan, right?
I talked about. I think we discussed
I get it.
this. Yeah,
I get
it. I think I talked about this last week before about you start something new and you have to put a ton of energy into it.
And then it pays you back.
And then eventually, at some point, the energy has to start to come back to you, or it's not going to work. You'll fail.
Right.
I think. Well, I'm definitely getting the energy back.
That's good.
There's no doubt about it. So I feel like there's something good here. And it just, reminded me to mention and to talk about, what groups don't go it alone, I guess is what it is. The journey is better with friends, they say, or whatever.
But you got to be able to, like, there's risk there. There's fear there because you're putting yourself out there at first anyway, in an environment where you are not the expert.
Why do you think we did a show on the alter ego effect a few weeks ago? Because I'm trying to understand how not to get destroyed in the comments by jackasses and trolls.
Sure.
And to have a shield, if you will.
Yeah.
And part of having that shield is having a group behind you. I feel like I'm on the other side of the velvet rope.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah,
anyway, if you
cool.
want to learn more
This is
about
great.
Growth Madness at Shannon Jean, come follow me because I'm still in the competition. And then I'd be glad to give you some more feedback and get you signed up on the waiting list because I think they're taking one.
Amazing. That's
Cool.
very cool. Did it cost anything to join this group? Just out of curiosity.
It does not. This group that I joined didn't cost anything. I don't know about the future if there's
Sure.
because there's some expenses involved with the
Yeah.
Slack group and stuff. But
Oh,
it's
yeah.
nominal.
Got it.
Nominal.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thanks for walking through that, and thanks for letting me.
Thanks for
poke at
listening.
it.
Thanks for hearing. I'm in it, in the thick of it. So sharing about it is great. Thank you.
It's great. Very cool. Folks, feedback at businessbrain.show is another way to find us. Make sure you check out shopify.com/businessbrain. Sign up for that $1 per month trial period and keep on living that charmed life. We'll see you on Friday. All right. We're out.
Awesome.
We are now between the bread.
Between the episodes. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
All right. And yeah. What? That was weird. Okay.
Awesome.
Yep.
And now Dave is prepping doing the fancy work with the knobs and buttons in the background so that when we're done, I can go up and process the audio, create some images. And this show we just recorded that we talked about the Hoover Dam. If you missed it, that was a good one. And the growth group on X, that will be pushed out to all the podcast services on Wednesday, the 27th. And the show that we're going to record next, where we have an intro about hating your customers that I have something to share that you might find interesting. That show will air on Friday, the 29th. I had the 28th here, so it's great. And we're definitely getting about 10 times the amount of streaming listeners. We're not up to. I wonder if it's like last time we stayed
starting
on longer
to settle in.
And I wonder because we got a huge bump last week. But it's terrific. You can comment as well too. Nathan from Quinlan's Construction Service, who I got on a call with about a week ago, and talked with him, and he's it's great.
Yeah,
I love it. Great way to connect. And I hit myself on the side of the head that I wasn't doing this sooner to promote our show. But it is what it
doesn't
is.
matter.
Better later than never.
Yeah, it's like you figure it out and then you start doing it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's great. And I got these notifications coming in. Fantastic. This guy.
Right.
I'm going to respond to
YouTube. That one's good to go. Okay, great.
Okay, great.
Oh, no. Yep. Okie dokie.
1 p.m. Pacific time.
We're
recording early this week because you're going somewhere, right?
I'm going to Podcast Movement. Yeah.
What is that?
It's a conference for the podcasting industry.
Nice.
My only issue with it, and we've got
you
things
want to talk about this on the show as the
Yeah.
intro instead of my hate your customers? We could wait on that one.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
Let's wait.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Okay.
Yep. Due to travel issues. Okay.
They probably won't be happy with me with what I'm going to say.
Well, then we don't have to do that.
No. It's not intentionally negative. In fact, it's positive about Podcast Movement in general. There's just like some tweaks that, as an attendee, I would like to see made.
Let's do it. Let's do that as the intro. I think that's better, and we'll move our hate your customers post to next week or intro topic to next week.
Sounds good. All right, I believe I am ready to record the next episode. If you are,
too. I am ready.
Let's do it. Business Brain, episode 536 for Casual Friday, March 29th, World Marbles Day 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain, the show where we dissect several ideas every episode so that we can each tune our business brains every time we get together. Sponsors for this episode include Shopify.com/businessbrain, where you can go to sign up for your $1 per month trial. We'll talk more in depth about some fun things you can do with Shopify in a little bit. And of course, ChatGPT writes all of our ad scripts, and I tell it to make me say funny things. So go ahead and listen. Even if you know about Shopify, I change it up every week, so you're always going to get something new. And I try not to laugh when I'm recording the ads, and sometimes I succeed. Here in Durham, New Hampshire, at least when we're recording this, I'm Dave Hamilton.
Yeah, and I'm still out here in Lafayette, California. I'm Shannon Jean. Glad to be here on Casual Friday.
Yes, we are recording a little bit early this week, Shannon, because I'm heading out to Los Angeles for a conference called Podcast Movement. Actually, this one's called Podcast Movement Evolutions.
Oh, okay.
And they do, it's great to be able to get the podcast industry together.
Now, is it just anybody who has a podcast, or people on another level, like advertising agencies, or both? What is it?
All of the above.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's for the podcast industry, whether you're thinking of starting a podcast, whether you've been doing one for 20 years, or whether you've never done a podcast and don't plan to, but you have other business interests in the podcast industry, right? Like you said, advertisers and people that manage advertising and all of it, right?
Yeah.
Like it gets the industry together. And that is super valuable.
Is it the biggest one out there, or are there other ones too?
Well, let me get there. That's a great question.
All right.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
And no. And also, I don't know. But I've always enjoyed going to podcast conferences. Like the first one was, I think, 2006. Like it was early. Maybe, yeah. It was called, crap, I don't even remember what it was called. I think it was called Podcast Expo or the New Media Expo or something. And that happened in Ontario, California, which is like, there's nothing there, which was great because everybody that was there was like a brand new podcaster because we were all new. Yeah, we was like going to camp. Nice. And then that evolved and everything. And then, I don't know, 8-10 years ago, maybe, these folks started Podcast Movement. And they've had them for every year other than COVID years, in various locations. They move them around. And it's great. However, I have one problem with it. And the problem that I have is that they started doing it once a year. Right? Like most conferences are.
Right, yeah.
And it'd be a big one. It would be for everybody, creators and industry folks and all that. And then they added a second one every year that they called Evolutions. And that was, at least from my perspective, geared towards just the industry side. So not so much for creators, but for, like, you said ad agencies and
facilitators.
the facilitators, the business. And when that started, it was fantastic because it was like, all right, this is great. We can get, without there being like the distraction of creator sessions and all that
more
stuff.
Specialized.
It's like, more specialized, more focused. Cool. It would happen at a smaller venue. It was all kind of in like a little hotel in Los Angeles where everybody could just sort of be together. And there was, if the main one had, I don't know, somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 attendees, this one maybe had like 800 or something.
Okay.
And it was easy to just go and you could like be super efficient about it. And it was great. And then started to get cloudy because this is my assumption that the organizers said, well, if we can have 2 conferences each year that had 3,000 people at them, wouldn't that be great? Like they're making money. Yep. Like I get it.
Of course.
And so it got unclear which one, and it's still unclear which conference is the one that we as the industry, and of course I sit in both of these camps, right? I'm obviously a podcaster. Here I am. But I also run one of, if not the oldest podcast representation firm, right? Like we've been running Backbeat Media. Yeah, Backbeat Media has been selling ads on podcasts for other people's shows, including our shows, but for 20 years, almost 20 years.
That's amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but we've been doing that for a long time. So there's that side of it too.
Yep.
And that's the part of the industry that's confused. And it's not just me. There's lots of us that like to be able to get together once a year. We don't need to see each other every 3 months or even every 6 months. Like we're emailing each other constantly, but it's nice to, as I say, remind one another that we are humans once a year, right? Because you're doing, it's very transactional. I'll get an email from someone. They'll be like, hey, Dave, we have a proposal for Shopify. And it's like, great. And we, pounce on it, and our team will go and vet it against all of our shows and find out who's interested. And then we put a proposal together and we deliver that back. They crunch it through. They talk to Shopify about it. They say, all right, great. Of the shows you submitted, Shopify selected, these 6 shows. Yep. Here's the dates we want. Give us dates. And it's this very harried sort of transactional thing, which is what business is. That's totally fine. It's easy to lose sight of the person,
the people. So at the show, you get to connect with those people, have those,
we're just hanging out, having drinks, nice. Whatever, it's nice to, again, remind each other that we're humans.
Yes.
But once a year is enough. But right now, because this show happens twice a year, and because the organizers have either intentionally created this blurred perception of what these are, or unintentionally, it's sort of evolved. No one knows. And so everybody thinks they need to go to 2 shows a year.
Is one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast or anything?
Well, no. This one that happens in the spring, February, March-ish, the one called Evolutions, has traditionally happened in Los Angeles. It is happening there again. They did 1-year detour in Las Vegas, which was the wrong place for it. Yeah. But, so we're back in LA, which is fine. But the other one moves around, and I actually like how they move the other one around. They find a hotel where it can be all in one, a conference center, plenty of restaurants, hotel, like a resort.
Yeah.
And you'll go to resorts like, going to a resort in Dallas in August is not the best time to be in Dallas, but you spend all your time indoors.
Yes.
It's fine. It doesn't matter, right? And so everybody hangs out, and I think the industry is trying to move to only going to the summer one and not caring about this one that happens in LA every year.
Got it.
We'll see how it evolves.
That's great. That's interesting. We've done shows about the importance of trade shows and conferences and how to get the most out of them. So if you go to businessbrain.show, you can look for those.
All right, folks, quick challenge for you. In 10 seconds, how many things can you name that never stop growing? Got your list? All right, well, here's one for the books. Business is thriving on our sponsor, Shopify. Let me spill the beans on a little secret. I launched a merchandise store for another venture of mine on Shopify. And guess what? We went from 0 to our first ka-ching in less than a day. Because that's the sound you hear when you make a sale on Shopify. It was like watching a plant grow in fast forward. Shopify isn't just a platform, it's your business's growth spurt in a box. From launching your online empire to opening your first brick and mortar and all the way up to your millionth order and beyond, Shopify is your ride or die. And for those of you who think selling's just about having a catchy jingle, think again. With Shopify Collective, you're not just selling, you're storytelling with a catalog of products from brands you adore. Increase your cart value with Shopify bundles. And believe me, bundling is as satisfying as popping bubble wrap. So good. Enter Shopify Magic, your AI-powered Merlin, for everything from captivating content to picking the perfect email timing. And the best part, it's free for every Shopify seller. Imagine having a genie that helps you generate instant FAQ answers or whips up product descriptions that make your items irresistible. With Shopify, you're not just opening a store, you're launching a rocket ship. So if you're ready to grow your business from a seedling to a towering tree, sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/businessbrain, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/businessbrain now to grow your business no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/businessbrain. And our thanks to Shopify for sponsoring this episode. We mentioned I do some other shows. I do a show called Gig Gab for musicians, primarily. This week, I had a guy on the show who is also a podcaster named Dallas Taylor. He does a podcast called 20,000 Hertz.
Oh, I love it. It's great.
It's such a great show.
He's got a great voice, and his topics are terrific, and it's so obscure. A lot of obscure things that you learn that you're like, that's amazing.
He dissects the stories behind sounds that we know, sounds that we don't know, like the Netflix, swoosh sound. He talks about that, like things like that, right?
Yep.
And so I had him on GigGab. We both are we're aware of each other, but we never met. And the episode is mostly us getting to know each other by telling stories to each other, which was a departure from the way that show usually goes. But I found it really interesting.
Nice.
He started that show because 8 years ago, because 14 years ago, he created his own sound design studio called De Facto Sound, right? So they build sounds. I think they do a lot of Netflix's sounds and like trailers and like they'll do all of that stuff. Right. And then they have downtime where the studio is, staffed by employed people, but not billing any hours. And so that's when they started doing the show. And as an aside, I'll let you listen to the episode, but they spend 300 hours per episode.
Yeah, that's 300 man hours.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But he talked about how he's someone who knows that he wants to like start things and figure out processes, but then it's really important to buy back his time by delegating. But in order to delegate, you got to be able to train people how to do the things that you have figured out how to do for your business.
Right.
And then hopefully, if you train them well, they can do it at least as well as you're close to, as well as you're the 80% rule that we've talked about on this show before. Right. And then eventually, hopefully they do the job better than you. Right. Which is often how that's going to work out.
Yeah, hopefully.
But the trick of training them is something he really focuses on. And he uses Loom to document all the procedures and essentially mind dump everything that's in his brain. That's how he trains his staff. I mean, there's other ways, but primarily
it's a great way to do it. And if you've never used Loom, basically it's a bunch of ways to use it. But I think the way you're talking about is you're recording your screen.
Yeah, it's a screen recorder.
Yeah, you're recording your screen as you're doing some task, and you're down in the corner with a little circular video, blurb.
Yep.
And you're talking them through it. Okay, look, I want you to do this. I want you to fill out this. When you get to this point of the screen, you should do this. And this is how we handle these situations. So you're walking them through, how
to do stuff. It's
anything.
You training them. It's
awesome.
It's a webinar builder.
Yeah.
If you want to, they probably wouldn't like me if I said it that way, but that's kind of what it's doing is you're building these webinars.
And it's asynchronous. So people can ask questions and it gets posted there and you can go up and answer them and it stays there. They can post it. They can post a question, a video like, hey Dave, I don't understand when you got to this point, do I press this or do that? You get an alert. You can go up, answer that question, and it stays as part of the SOP or the FAQ, whatever it is you're creating. It's a great service. I used it for a few things.
I've used it before too. I never realized the question thing. I used it basically to be this simple way to record a presentation that I wanted to just deliver.
I see. Yeah, me too. That's kind of the way I did it. But then I noticed when I pushed it out to my audience that I guess I had left that question thing on, and so they started posting questions back and forth, and then you could just choose. Oh, do you want to leave this question in? That kind of thing, which is great. And that, I think I've mentioned on the show before, one of the...
You can start Loom for free, by the way. I'm just digging it.
That's cool.
They are not a sponsor of this episode.
They should
by
be.
the way. I know. Yeah.
There's one of the guys I follow on X, Girdley is his handle, or whatever you want to call it. He was talking about, I forget, I'll paraphrase. Basically, to be successful, you either need to delegate or automate. And if you're really good, you do it.
You're doing both.
You do it both. Yeah. And I think it's a great idea. And there's if I think of it, I don't know his URL, but there was a guy that recorded a specific set of looms all about making SOPs for your business and how to use Loom to do it.
So very meta.
Yeah, very meta. I'll look it up after we're done recording and I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay.
His first name is Colin, I
cool.
thought it was pretty good. It's pretty
Those show notes are at businessbrain.show. And if you want to send us feedback, if you have thoughts, if you're using Loom, if you have any questions for us, whatever, send us whatever you want. Feedback at businessbrain.show. We love to hear from you. It's our fuel.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Make sure to check out shopify.com/businessbrain. You sign up for their $1 per month trial period, and that'll help you lead the charmed life. Hopefully the episode has helped you increase the charm of your life. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week. And we're out. Sweet.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
So we're going to end the live stream, folks. Again, one episode will be out on Wednesday. If you have not signed up, you can find us in any of your podcast services, Apple, Spotify, all that kind of stuff. We also push this out to YouTube, and you can subscribe, and we will see you on Wednesday and see you on Friday.
See you Wednesday. Yeah, we'll see you Friday, and then we'll see you again next week.
Next week.
Exactly.
Thanks. Take care.
Sweet.